In the early 2000s, Airbus set out to create something that would change the way we think about flying long distances. Not just another big jet, but a new kind of machine that would quietly rewrite how modern aviation works. The result was the A350, a futuristic widebody that instantly stood out with its sleek curves and that mysterious black mask around the cockpit windows. To most people, it just looks stylish. But for me, that jet is full of quirks, tiny, brilliant, sometimes baffling details that make it one of the most fascinating airplanes flying today. The A350 isn't perfect, but that's exactly why I love it, because every imperfection hides a story. And I'll be honest, once you understand what's really going on beneath that carbon fiber skin, you'll never look at it the same way again. Let's start with the most iconic part, the mask. People call it the sunglasses, the raccoon eyes, or even the superhero visor. But this isn't some design gimmick dreamed up by Airbus's marketing team. It's pure function disguised as fashion. See, curved cockpit windows create a hidden problem. When sunlight hits the glass at 38,000 feet, it doesn't heat evenly. Different sections of the window expand at different rates, which creates thermal stress that can literally crack the pane over time. So Airbus engineers found a clever fix: black paint. The dark pigment absorbs and redistributes heat evenly across the surface, protecting those complex curved windows. It's like sunscreen for the airplane's face. And because the shape of the paint also smooths airflow around the nose, it helps reduce tiny swirls of drag that can waste fuel. In other words, those sleek lines you see on the front aren't just for looks. They're aerodynamics, protection, and branding all at once. And yes, it does make the A350 look like it just stepped out of a sci-fi movie. Boeing actually considered something similar for the 787, but ditched it. They thought it was too distinctive, too bold. Airbus went all in. And now, that black band is the A350's signature. Sometimes the best engineering decisions just happen to look cool too. Now, speaking of quirks, let's talk about one of my favorite aviation stories, the A350 coffee crisis. Picture this: you're cruising peacefully at 37,000 feet when suddenly one of the engines goes quiet. Not from a bird strike, not from a malfunction, but from a spilled drink. Sounds ridiculous, right? But it happened. In 2019, a pilot accidentally tipped over a cup of tea in the cockpit. The liquid dripped down into sensitive electronics on the center console, and one of the Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engines shut down. A few months later, a similar thing happened again. This time, coffee took out an engine mid-flight on a trans-Pacific route. Both flights had to divert, all because the cup holders were designed for tiny European espresso cups, not the massive to-go mugs used by crews in the US. It's one of those design oversights that makes you laugh and cringe at the same time. Airbus engineers, used to sipping small cafe shots in Toulouse, never imagined pilots nursing jumbo drinks for 15 hours straight. The fix? Airbus created liquid-free zones, redesigned control panels, and issued new procedures. They even added removable covers for sensitive equipment. Problem solved. But the story goes deeper. It's not just about coffee. It's about human habits clashing with technology. A jet that can fly halfway around the world non-stop was almost grounded by something as ordinary as a cup of tea. That, to me, is what makes aviation so human. Now take a closer look at the cockpit itself. Something's missing. No bulky control yoke blocking the middle. Just Airbus's trademark side sticks. That simple change opened up the entire center space, and Airbus decided to do something surprisingly practical with it. They added fold-out desks. Yes, actual desks at 38,000 feet. During long ocean crossings, pilots aren't just staring at screens. They're reviewing charts, signing paperwork, planning fuel loads, and eating meals. The A350 gives them a space to work comfortably, with a smooth sliding table that flips over to reveal a built-in keyboard for entering flight data. It sounds like a small thing, but it changes how you experience long-haul operations. It turns the cockpit into an office with one hell of a view. To me, this is Airbus's design philosophy in one image, respecting the human inside the machine. Here's another piece of quiet genius. When most of us think about braking after landing, we imagine pilots manually applying the brakes and slowing down by feel. But the A350 can actually brake itself, with surgical precision. It's called the brake-to-vacate system. Before landing, the pilots select which taxiway exit they want to use. The jet's computers then calculate the exact brake pressure needed to reach that exit. No more, no less. Touchdown. Thrust reversers deploy, and the A350 automatically modulates the brakes to glide right to the planned turnoff. Perfectly timed. Why does that matter? Because at massive airports like Heathrow or JFK, every second counts. A plane that clears the runway faster keeps traffic flowing, reduces taxi delays, and even saves wear on the tires and brakes. Over thousands of landings, that means millions saved in maintenance costs. Cars have automated parking. The A350 has automated runway exits. Welcome to aviation's version of parallel parking at 150 miles per hour. Now let's talk about those wings. The first time you watch an A350 climb, you'll notice something mesmerizing. The wings bend. Not a little, a lot. They flex and curve like they're alive. This isn't a flaw, it's a masterpiece of materials engineering. The A350's wings are made from carbon fiber reinforced plastic, a composite so light and strong it makes aluminum look ancient. Unlike metal, which can fatigue and crack, carbon fiber can flex dramatically without damage. When turbulence hits, the wings absorb the energy like springs instead of transmitting it to the fuselage. You feel fewer jolts, your drink stays in the cup, and the ride feels eerily smooth. Even more impressive, the wings subtly change their aerodynamic shape as conditions shift, bending just enough to keep lift optimal and drag low. It's like watching a bird in flight, and that's no coincidence. Airbus studied avian flight patterns when designing this wing. Nature's already perfected efficiency. Airbus just borrowed the notes. Compared to the Boeing 787, which pioneered composites, the A350 takes it further. Longer wings, thinner profiles, smoother surfaces. The result is not only efficiency, but beauty. I've seen hundreds of aircraft take off, but nothing moves through the sky quite like an A350. Now for a strange contradiction, the A350 is both faster and slower than its competitors. At cruise, the A350-900 slices through the air at Mach 0.85, about 650 miles per hour. That's faster than the 777 and the A330. But when it comes to landing, it slows down like a dancer. Those flexible wings and advanced flaps allow it to approach 20 to 30 knots slower than older jets. That means shorter runways, better performance in bad weather, and smoother touchdowns. It's the perfect combination. Near supersonic up high, graceful down low. How does it pull off that trick? The secret lies in its wingtips. See those elegant curves rising from the wingtips? Those aren't for show. They're inspired by birds of prey. When an eagle soars, it spreads the feathers at the tips of its wings upward. That breaks up the spiraling vortices that cause drag. The A350's sharklets do exactly the same thing. By slicing through the air and disrupting those vortices, they save fuel, increase range, and improve climb performance. It's biomimicry, nature teaching humans how to fly better. And that's what fascinates me most about the A350. Every line on this plane feels like it was drawn by both an engineer and an artist. Speaking of range, let's talk about distance records. The A350-900 ULR, Ultra Long Range, changed the map of commercial aviation. It flies from Singapore to New York, nearly 9,500 nautical miles, without refueling. That's almost 19 hours in the air from one side of the planet to the other. Older aircraft like the A340 could attempt it, but only under perfect weather and with limited passengers. The A350 made it routine. It wasn't just about adding bigger fuel tanks. Airbus re-optimized everything, reduced weight, fine-tuned engine performance, and reshaped parts of the wing for better efficiency. And it worked. Now think about what that means. Cities that once required layovers now connect directly. Sydney to London, Singapore to New York, Doha to Los Angeles, all single hops. The planet feels smaller. Business travelers save hours. Airlines save fuel and money. And the jet itself does it all quietly, gracefully, and reliably. I've always believed that aviation isn't just about machines. It's about shrinking the world. The A350 did that better than any jet of its generation. But endurance means nothing if passengers feel wrecked when they land. That's where Airbus really flexed its obsession with comfort. Most aircraft are pressurized to around 8,000 feet cabin altitude. The A350? Just 6,000. Those 2,000 feet make a huge difference. More oxygen in your bloodstream, less fatigue, fewer headaches. And because the fuselage is carbon fiber, it can safely handle that higher pressure without the stress cracks that plague aluminum over time. Humidity also gets a boost, from the usual desert dry 5 to 10% to around 20%. That might not sound like much, but your skin and sinuses definitely notice. Lighting helps too. The A350 uses LED mood lighting that mimics sunrise and sunset, helping your body clock adjust during ultra-long flights. You won't necessarily see these differences, but you feel them. That's the beauty of good engineering. It improves your life without asking for attention. Now here's something airlines absolutely love about this jet: training efficiency. A pilot who's qualified on the A330 can learn the A350 in about 8 days. 8 days! That's unheard of for a brand new aircraft packed with cutting-edge technology. Airbus designed the A350 to feel instantly familiar. Same side-stick philosophy, similar displays, nearly identical emergency procedures. For airlines, that's a dream come true. Training costs drop, scheduling gets easier, and pilots can move between aircraft families seamlessly. For the pilots themselves, it's a confidence booster. New jets can be intimidating. Different logic, different controls. But the A350 feels like an upgrade of something they already know. It builds trust instead of fear, and that's huge at 38,000 feet. And then, one of my favorite features, the head-up display, or HUD. It looks like something pulled from a fighter jet. A transparent screen drops in front of the pilot's eyes, projecting critical flight data, speed, altitude, direction, right onto the real-world view outside. No need to glance down at instruments. The information floats over the runway like augmented reality. During foggy landings or low visibility, that's a game changer. The moment the wheels touch down, the system even shows a live airport map on the navigation screen, helping pilots taxi safely through huge maze-like airports. No more guessing which turn leads to the gate. These are small changes that add up to something big. Fewer mistakes, faster operations, and safer flights. So, after all of this, what did we really learn about the A350? That perfection was never the goal. Thoughtfulness was. This jet doesn't try to be flawless, it tries to be human. Its wings flex like living creatures, turning rough air into calm. Its cockpit gives pilots desks, not discomfort. Its systems handle the heavy lifting, so crews can focus on decisions. Even its quirks, like the coffee fiasco, made it better. Every odd choice, every strange innovation tells a story about people who asked, "What if?" instead of "Why bother?" If you ever see an A350 at the gate, take a closer look. Notice that black mask. Watch the wings ripple as it climbs. Listen to how quiet the cabin feels, almost like the engines are whispering. And remember that somewhere up front, two pilots are cruising at nearly the speed of sound, working at fold-out desks while the airplane brakes itself perfectly to its chosen exit. That's not just transportation. That's poetry in carbon fiber. The A350 isn't interesting because it's perfect. It's interesting because it dares to be weird and somehow turns those quirks into elegance. So here's my question to you. Which A350 feature surprised you the most? Was it the mask, the wings, or maybe the invisible comfort systems that quietly look after you for 19 hours straight? Let me know what stood out to you in the comments, because if there's one thing this jet proves, it's that the most fascinating aircraft aren't the flawless ones. They're the ones that take risks, trust the engineers, and somehow make engineering feel emotional. The A350 did all of that, and it did it beautifully.